American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, you know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire.
He has a point. The man has a point.
And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight. Blood coming down the face. Now, America is the home of the brave. And there's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America? Yeah.
This is a pretty obvious question, I think this is a pretty obvious answer. And one of the reasons I say that is Kamala Harris is scared to even do adversarial interviews. She doesn't want to go sit down and get challenged by anybody. So she's scared to do adversarial interviews, but we want her to be the commander-in-chief and be adversarial to our enemies and do that effectively. But yet she's scared to be adversarial in interviews. Again, it's really interesting to me how she doesn't see that as a problem. But I also find this interaction very interesting for a couple of reasons. But before I talk about that or anything like that, I'll let this continue. Check this out.
Absolutely. And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election.
Now, Elon's never really been, if you pay attention to his history, he's never really been a real political person. And he used to be more center left. But the left has went so far left that now he's with the right because the right hasn't ran to the right or sprinted to the left like the left has. So the right is currently the party of common sense and rationality. And he sees that. And he also knows, regulation-wise, the left has a much more heavy hand when it comes to regulation and making things difficult to get done, which is why he moved a lot of his stuff out of California and moved it to Texas. Right? But before I continue, we'll let him speak some more.
The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech.
He's not necessarily wrong about that. I'm not saying they just want, to take it completely away, but there's a good argument that they do because, again, like even Tim Walton, there's no right to misinformation, right? There's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Well, he didn't say who gets to determine if it's misinformation. Just like, for example, the Hunter Biden laptop story was misinformation, right? But then it came out that it wasn't misinformation, right? And the Democrats were trying to get Facebook and other platforms to censor that, and more so or more or less successfully were able to do that. So again, he's talking about the First Amendment right, freedom of speech, and Democrats want to control speech. Democrats are already talking about all the misinformation that's on Twitter because they no longer have control of it, right? So when they're used to having control of everything, they don't like stuff they don't agree with being let out into the public and letting people see that. And Elon lets the right speak and the left speak on Twitter. He's not stopping people on the left from speaking. No matter what they tell you, he's not. Go on Twitter, look, and if you pay attention, you will see there are plenty of people on the left. There are people on Elon's platform calling for Elon's security clearances to get taken away. There are people on this platform calling for him to step down as the head of Tesla, the CEO, right? For the board to take that away from him, all these other things. There are plenty of people absolutely hating on Elon on his own platform. But the Democrats like to control speech and they like to control the narrative. And the fact that Elon bought Twitter, it is a threat to their control of the narrative. So they're going to fight to try to get that back. So when they say there's no, like when Tim Walton said there's no, First Amendment right to misinformation, again, the question is, who gets to decide if it's misinformation? And when Tim Walton is saying that, he means his side gets to control and determine what misinformation is or is not.
They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. got 14 states now that don't require voter ID. California, where I used to live, is just passed a law banning voter ID for voting.
He's actually not really wrong. So they banned it for local governments requiring voter ID. But here's the thing. They virtually did ban it because in California, you do not have to have an ID to vote. Now, you have to have an ID to register to vote, but you don't have to have an ID to vote. So theoretically, let's say you have a bunch of people that died and California didn't purge them off their voting records. All you would have to go do, or you and a group of people would have to go do, is obviously you could vote for yourself, figure out these people's addresses, right? Once you figure out their addresses and their full name, you could go vote for them in their precinct and their name, right? And the only real backstop to that California has that I'm aware of is the voter signature requirement, and they would have to choose to enforce that, right? So if your signature doesn't necessarily match, that could be something that they could choose to enforce. But if they want their candidate to win, right, it's literally perfectly set up for election fraud. Perfectly set up. You don't purge the voter rolls of people dying, right? There's a bunch of different things they can leave people, and then people can go to different precincts and vote because it does not require an ID. Having voter ID should not be a partisan issue. Both parties should be agreeing to this, and it should be no problem. But one party is not, and it's concerning. And there's a good chance that it could be because they want to be able to game the system. They'll try to cover it up with, well, it disenfranchises these people. Most of these people have a driver's license. Most of these people have some form of ID. They live in the US. It doesn't disenfranchise them for them to bring their ID to vote. Like, come on, let's be realistic here.
I still can't believe that's real. So how are you supposed to have a proper election if there's no ID? It's just meaningless.
Bingo.
And free speech. Free speech is the bedrock of democracy.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
If people don't know what's going on, if they don't know the truth, how can you make an informed vote? You must have free speech.
Bingo.
In order to have democracy.
Yes.
That's why it's the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment.
Bingo. Bingo. I want you to think about what he just said. The First Amendment is the bedrock to democracy. The Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment, right? Both of these are under attack from the left. Now, I want you to think about this because the left is going to tell you, well, we want to just stop gun violence, right? And everyone has the right to be safe from gun violence. This is what they're going to tell you. But what they don't tell you is the vast majority of gun deaths come from handguns. So if they're truly wanting to stop that violence, they're going to come for your handguns. So they're going to start with your rifles because they're big, mean looking, and scary. Then they're going to come for your handguns because that's where the vast majority of damage is done. So they're going to start there. Then they're going to take both of those away from you in the end, very likely. They're not telling you that, but that's the very obvious, logical progression if you think about it. Because those same people that go into schools with rifles will just start going into schools with pistols. That's what they will start doing. But again, they're not going to tell you that. But think about it for yourself. Think about the logical progression of that.
President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America. Yes. This is a must-win situation. Must win. So I have one ask for everyone in the audience, everyone who watches this video, everyone in the live stream. There's one request. It's very important. Register to vote. Okay? And get everyone you know and everyone you don't know, drag them to register to vote. There's only 2 days left to register to vote in Georgia and Arizona, 48 hours. Like, text people now. Now. Oh, and then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important. So get everyone you know. Everyone. So I'm speaking to people out there. Everyone in the crowd, I think, is already convinced. But for people out there that are watching the video, watching the live stream, you need to get everyone you know, at work, your friends, family, text groups, your social media, everything. Get them to register to vote right now. Only 2 days left for Georgia and Arizona. Only a couple weeks left in Pennsylvania. And if they're not registered to vote, it doesn't matter at that point. Register to vote. I'm being repetitive for a reason, okay? So nothing is more important. And a lot of people think maybe their vote doesn't count. Well, it does, okay? It does. It matters. And this election could be decided by 1,000 votes, 500 votes. A tiny margin. So get everyone you know to register to vote. I believe that's swapthevote.com. I believe that's the site. And double check that your registration is good. Don't take it for granted. I'm just being repetitive about this point because it is the one takeaway, more than anything, that will matter is getting those registrations and then getting everyone you know to actually vote. That is what will decide this election, especially in Pennsylvania. So thank you, and honestly, you want to just be a pest. Just be a pest to everyone you know, people on the street, everywhere. Vote, vote, vote. Fight, fight, fight. Vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
So this is what I think people don't understand. If you pay attention to Elon Musk, what you'll realize about this man is he is way ahead of his time in many things. And he said the woke mind virus is a civilization level threat, is what this man has said, because it prioritizes things like DEI over meritocracy, right? It turns people into victims. Meritocracy goes away. They're putting people in positions that they should not be because of their race, sex, gender, or whatever, right? They're focused on taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots. There's a whole list of reasons why he says the woke mind virus is a civilization level threat. But again, think about this. This man has not been political. And he sees the Democratic Party as a problem to the country, the US. There's a reason he's getting political, right? And again, it's not because his first choice was to get political. That's not it. The man literally sees this as a civilization level threat, and he sees the left as a problem for America. But I mean, again, think about it. You've got one side that's fighting for voter ID. The other side is not fighting for voter ID. They're fighting against it. Think about that, right? At the same time, Democrats would have talked multiple times about turning Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. into states, therefore effectively giving them 4 more senators. Those are both blue areas, right? Not to mention they talked about packing the Supreme Court, not to mention they're talking about amnesty for all the illegal people they've let in, which will give them millions of voters. So in a way, they want control, and there's a chance that when they get that, they will try to rig the system in permanent favor of Democrats. Elon sees this. Again, this man has started Tesla. He's got the largest EV company in the world by market cap, and it's producing arguably the most cars, close to, right? In addition to that, he has got SpaceX, which is literally launching rockets into space. He's got Starlink, which is a part of SpaceX, which is internet from space. He's got the Boring Company. He's got Neuralink. The man isn't crazy. They might try to act like this man's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. No, the man is an absolute genius. He's an absolute genius, and his work ethic is unmatched. And he sees the reality of the situation of politics in the United States as it is, right? And the man is on the right path. It's nice to see him on the right side of history in multiple things. But that's all I got for this video. Like, share, and subscribe. I will see y'all in the next one. Y'all have a wonderful night. Peace.